Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be providing my long-term outlook on the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. And for this video, I really want to approach this analysis just from an unbiased perspective. I know a lot of people like to get caught up in the Ethereum versus Bitcoin debate. There's a lot of maximalists out there, Ethereum maximalists and Bitcoin maximalists, who really don't necessarily consider the other side. I'm not really here to talk about which one is better. I'm just looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio and want to discuss which one I think is going to outperform, which one I think is going to do better from the cycle low to the cycle high, and where this ratio will eventually tend towards throughout the remainder of this cycle. So I hope you guys do enjoy the content and the analysis. By the way, please do leave any of your video recommendations, comments, or suggestions down below. So for this analysis, I really want to just divide up the market cycle into different parts, different time frames that we can look to, and I'm specifically going to be starting and comparing it to the previous market cycle, because typically when we have a lot of data on the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, we can help to identify some trends in the market, some underlying themes that we could look to with the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, and then maybe translate that into where we are today in this market cycle. So to do so, I'm really going to be looking here first at Ethereum and generally dividing this up into three sections. And the first section would be the bear market, which is starting from here in the peak in January of 2018, and then we had the bear market lows right here in December of 2018, and that marked the entire bear market. That was a decline of about 95% in around 11 to 12 months. So that's the first stage of the market cycle that we saw. The next stage is more or less what I would call the sideways period, where yes, we had a pretty significant rally, but then we came back down, we retested the lows. And in general, I think this started to end in March of 2020. This is really where we had that second low, that retest. And this is the period where, yes, we had that big pump, but we also came back down, retraced, and then eventually retested the lows. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to treat all of this as one big period of sideways price action. You could call this accumulation. You could call this whatever you want. But the general gist here is that not a whole lot happened. We had just disinterest in the market. Ethereum wasn't doing anything crazy, and generally we had the price just going up and then going back down. And then the last stage of the market cycle was really the big bull run. I'm going to mark this at the peak that we had in May of 2021, right around $4,400. Another very viable approach is to mark it from November of 2021, right here when we had the price all-time high. But I wanted to measure it here from May of 2021 because I think this is when a lot of the indicators and metrics peaked, like RSI, like sentiment, and retail interest. So those are more or less the three stages of the market cycle. Now I'm going to go back here to the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio and mark those out as well. We had the peak in January of 2018, and then we had the big bear market decline, which ended in December of 2018. That was this time frame. And then we had the sideways period up until March of 2020 right here, and then the big market cycle all-time high in May of 2021 when we had the bull market end. So those are the three cycles, and you can really see a pretty clear pattern here. The bear market was, of course, not good for the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. We had a very big decline. In fact, from this local high down to the local low, it was about a 77% drawdown. And again, that was all during this bear market where Ethereum significantly underperformed Bitcoin, and it did so by just moving down at a faster pace. And then the next stage right here, December 2018 to March 2020, again during the sideways period, this was also a period where the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio bled, but not as significantly. From this local high that we had beginning December 2018 down to the low, it was about a 41% drawdown, and then to the low that we had in September 2019, the bottom on the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, it was about negative 54%. So still declining, but not as bad and not as severe and aggressive as the bear market. And then starting here in the bull market, that's when the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio really started to move back up, and it had a very impressive rally of about 250%. So it outperformed Bitcoin by 250%. And just to give you guys an idea of what that actually means, what that's showing us here is if we go here to Bitcoin from the March 2020 low, Bitcoin moved up to the peak by about 1,500%. So a very impressive rally and a very significant move by Bitcoin. But again, Ethereum just had a little bit better returns from this low in March 2020 to the peak. It rallied by 4,800%. So that's how we get that outperformance by 250% during this rally by the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. So the general takeaway here is that the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is probably going to continue to bleed until we get a new bull run. or at least that's what it was in the last cycle. Translating that into today where we are, if we look here at Ethereum, we had the bear market end in June 2022. That is when we had the capitulation and the low at $880. And if we look here at the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, again, that was where we had this low on the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. And if we take a measurement from this peak that we had in May 2021 down to the lows, it was about a 34% decline. So we saw how this cycle, it really started to change, where instead of having this drawdown of 77%, it was only 34%. And really, this goes to show you how the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio has held up quite well. And a lot of people are saying this is looking like a big distribution phase, but I would prefer the distribution phase still holding a range, still holding up support over a very big decline, very big drawdown, considering that we just had a bear market. We just had a period where Ethereum declined by 80% plus. So the fact that the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio held up during that time frame, I think it says a lot about how relatively strong it is and how we could have an eventual rally in a new bull run that takes us up very high to some of these higher levels. But of course, that's still, we're not there yet. We're not into the full-on bull market. If we look here at Bitcoin, again, we haven't really seen that transition from the period of going sideways into the period of a very raging bull market. And again, I would still argue we are probably going to end up going sideways until we form out some sort of big longer term base. I do think the lows are in, but still, I don't think we're going to be immediately into that big raging bull market stage. So for that reason, I don't think the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio is just going to have a breakout, an imminent rally that is taking us up to new all-time highs any day now. I think we have to wait for the market to start giving us that suitable environment. And that suitable environment comes when we shift from this potentially sideways and neutral phase into a more rapid expansion bull market phase. And again, I don't think that we have seen that transition yet. I think we are yet to point out some sort of longer term, maybe a higher low, maybe the point where we just start to have the big momentum start to pick up. I don't think we're just out of this sideways market yet. I think we're still generally in this sort of the stage of the market where maybe we just have some rallies followed by some corrections, but in the general longer term trend, we're probably just going sideways. Again, for Ethereum, you can see we've had the big pump, we had a retrace back down to the lows, a big rally once again. I wouldn't be surprised if we correct back down for later coming into some sort of longer term higher low. So comparing this into the previous market cycle, this was stage one, this was stage two, and then this was stage three. I think we've completed stage one indefinitely, and then we're still in that stage two. And then when we do start to see that eventual shift, whether that's coming up here in a few months or towards the end of the year, when eventually we do start to enter that big bull run, big raging aggressive market cycle where we're just rallying to new all-time highs, I think that we have to wait until that stage three before the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio starts to have that big rally. So again, coming back here, stage 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, I think we're generally going to have something more along the lines of just continuing to go sideways. In stage 1, we had a lot less bleeding. This held up much better than the previous bear market. So I think you could make the same argument in the same case for stage 2, where we had that sideways period. So generally here, my outlook is that when we do start to see that bull market kick back on, and I'm just throwing this out arbitrarily, it doesn't have to be exactly as I marked it out in September 2023, but for the most part, I think we're probably just going to continue going sideways here. Maybe we retest the lows from back here in June, maybe we have a retest of the highs, but until we have the market giving us that confidence that people want to take on risk, I think we're going to just be still stuck within this range. And then generally when we start to see the interest and the euphoria return, that's when I think the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio would have a big breakout and then start to trend back up to some of those all-time highs. So this is sort of where I stand with the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio. I think some of these targets from back here in 2017 and 2018 are quite reasonable, especially the high from January 2018 at 0.11. I think this is a reasonable target to expect if we do have the breakout outside of this range. And then from there, is the possibility of the June 2017 highs at 0.156 possible? I would make the argument in a peak bull run in the most euphoric stage, we could probably get there and have Ethereum potentially flip in Bitcoin for a brief period of time before eventually coming back down and then experiencing that bear market stage. So those are some upside possibilities. We're nowhere near there yet. We're still in this range. We're still what I would consider to be in this general sideways period. So don't take these targets too seriously because we're not even close to that point. We could still have potentially a bigger drawdown. Maybe we have a retest of some of these values from 2020 and 2021. So maybe we have a lower low. In general, though, I think that we probably aren't going to see that imminent breakout, and we most likely have a retest of lows or at very least sideways action until we eventually see this start to rally towards those higher targets. So if you guys enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.